Carl Frapalo. I was named after my great uncle Carlo Formicola. And my family came from southern Italy. I had two grandparents from Avellino, one from San Giovanni, and one from the city of Naples, lived right in the city. And growing up in America, both my parents were born in New York, on Long Island. My mother was born in Glen Cove Hospital. My father was born in the kitchen of the house he grew up in, with a midwife. And growing up, we were always told to be proud that we were American, but also be very proud of the fact that we were Italian American. And cooking was something we all learned to do, boys, girls. It was a big part of who we were, the way we celebrated everything. Birthdays, the 4th of July. On the 4th of July, we would eat food like sausage and peppers, eggplant parmesan, and of course hot dogs and hamburgers too. Well, it's interesting, yes, and it's not that the meal's the memory, it's we spent a lot of time around meals. Like I said, food was a big part of what we did. Every single holiday you could think of, from St. Patrick's Day to Christmas, there was a reason to eat, and there were very traditional meals served. You knew, you could be blindfolded in time warp and sit down at a table and watch the food come out. I could tell you exactly what holiday it was. Christmas Eve started at 6 o'clock, prompt, and we would all get together, and that was called the Night of the Seven Fishes, and we would always start with angel hair spaghetti with two kinds of sauce. One was made with shrimp in red tomato sauce, and the other one was made with octopus, a baby octopus steamed in its own juices. That's how it started. Throughout the night there was homemade zapalas for bread. There was fried eel. Some of the zapalas had what they called aliz, which was sardines, cooked in them. There was fried calamari, scungili salad. Most Italians I know all celebrate the Night of the Seven Fish, and nobody seems to know exactly why that started. There's so many reasons that I've read over the years, but there's not one that says, no, this is the reason. It almost seems like people make them up along the way, and not every family seems to do the same kind of fish, but they're all into this idea that no meat on Christmas Eve and 7 fish. So then Christmas Day, the meal started at 3 o'clock. That was a long meal, and we usually started with lasagna, although it could be, no, I'm sorry, we started with what Americans now call Italian wedding soup. We never called it that. We called it a scroll of soup.
What did you call it?
I'm saying it wrong now, but it was sopa.
Zuppa?
Zuppa scroll is what they used to say.
Soup.
And it was escarole soup, and it was made from fresh capon chicken. And they would boil the chicken, take the chicken meat out. Some of it was always left as little flakes of it. But then boil little tiny meatballs in there and fresh escarole. And we would start with that. Then there was always either manicotti or lasagna. Most often it was lasagna. And then salad and all the meat that the macaroni was. The sauce that was on the macaroni, the meat, the braciole, meatballs, sausage, sometimes pork skin with salad. And then we would typically take a break for half an hour or so. And then there'd be some kind of meat. Very often it was something that my grandmother called jambot, which I guess means mixed up. And she would put chicken, pieces of filet mignon, and mushrooms, and simmer them in white wine. And that very often was the meat course. Sometimes we would have turkey, although that was pretty rare. And then fried vegetables to go with it, artichoke hearts, and cauliflower hearts. Easter, well, really, Easter started on Palm Sunday. Easter was a big event, and on Palm Sunday, we talked about this, yesterday, you and I. She would make homemade tagliatelle noodles with meat sauce, and then we would have the braciole and the meatballs and a salad. So it was pretty simple. But then started Easter week after that. And Monday, Tuesday, really nothing much going on. Even Wednesday. But by Holy Thursday, very traditional meals started coming out. And Holy Thursday was a red sauce rice dish with cheese in it. Good Friday was fish, of course. And then Saturday was the Easter pie. And then Sunday was Easter Sunday. And that's when we had the escarole soup made with pork and not chicken and beef. And then some kind of macaroni, sometimes homemade ravioli, sometimes gnocchi, lots of times cavatelli, which we always called for some reason jiggered eels. That was the Italian, Neapolitan, Long Island version of cavatelli with jiggered eels with regaut. And then salad and all the meat that came from the sauce. And then after a while, some form of lamb. The lamb sometimes was cooked in the oven with peas and eggs. Sometimes it was a leg of lamb and the vegetables on the side. There was always lamb afterwards. And then there was, I'm going to say this incorrectly, pizza grain, which basically was grain pie. It's almost like a cheese pie, but it's full of wheat. It's very grainy. There was that. There was ricotta pie. There was Italian pastry. Actually, on all the holidays when the desserts came out, there was always coffee, espresso, which they called black coffee. And what you and I call coffee, they called Michigan coffee, American coffee. And not a lot of people drink that, on holidays anyway. Thanksgiving was a combination of Italian and American food. So we always started with Italian. So we would always start with usually gnocchi, sometimes ravioli with some kind of macaroni. Gnocchi a lot though. And then again, the meat from the sauce and a salad. And then turkey. That's when we turned into the American meal. But the stuffing was Italian. So you made stuffing out of bread, egg, and pinoles, little pine nuts. And then sweet potatoes, which we used to call sweet potato. I miss growing up with everyone. We were a really, really close group of people. And now it's always bugged me that you and Teresa have no relatives that live near you. It was great to have brothers and sisters, but then also cousins and aunts and uncles. And there was always somebody I could rely on. And, I've said to you, I could walk to anyone's, an aunt and uncle or grandmother's house in under 3 minutes, and that's a nice feeling. And when I was growing up, in my teens, I had a huge appetite, and I still have very vivid memories of eating with my family, and then walking over to my grandmother's house, knowing that there'd be leftovers, and eating her leftovers, and then going up to my aunt's house and see if anything was left there. That was fun. I miss that a lot. And of course, the holidays. Which is why I try to still keep them alive for us. And, Uncle Louis lives only a half hour away, so we spend as many holidays as we can with him. And it's great to have, who here this year. Hey, Carol! Carol! I probably didn't do a lot of cooking growing up. I watched a lot. You couldn't help it. If you were in the house, you were watching cooking going on. And you learn a lot without realizing it because you just see people doing it. And then I cooked a little in high school because I was on split session, so I would get home from school at 12:30 in the afternoon, and my parents didn't get home from work till 5:30, 6 o'clock. So sometimes I would start dinner, and that's how I started cooking. But I didn't really start until I was at college, and then I moved to Washington, D.C., and I didn't have my grandmother around for all the holidays. She was still alive. I just couldn't get home, and I missed it. So that's when I started to learn how to make the Palm Sunday Tyrell noodles. I just figured out I asked, what's the recipe, and I started doing it. Oh, sure. Every single holiday meal is going to bring back memories. Not even holiday meals. When I make pasta fazool, every time I make it, I think of two things. I don't say it out loud, but in my head, I think about the fact that no one loves pasta fazool more than my sister. She was killed as a child for it. She'd have eaten it every day. My grandmother knew that, and so very often when she'd make it, she'd make sure that Colette got some. And then the other one is my grandmother not only was a great cook, but she loved to eat. And when she got well into her 50s or 60s, she became diabetic. And one of the things the doctor took away from her was pasta. And she told the story to me. She suddenly had an absolute craving for pasta azul. She knew she had to have it. She was not. She told all pasta was taken away. But she set up to heck with it, and she made herself a delicious batch of it. Well, just she's getting ready to eat it, her daughter walks in, so she panicked, and she took the bowl of steaming hot pasta azul and puts it in her kitchen cabinet, and just like ours, they're glass covered. And her daughter comes in, and she's chatting away, and she's trying to knock me conversation, and she's thinking, get out, get out. And, as she's talking and talking, she's looking out of the corner of her eye, and she's noticing that the macaroni's so hot, it's steaming up the windows in the cabinet. And her daughter said, it smells good in here. Did you just cook? No. And eventually, like a half an hour later, she left, and she said, nice that night. Oh, funny. Yeah, well, yeah, just last weekend was Palm Sunday, and whenever I need the dough for the Tayarel, I always think about her, because I always remember, by the way, this is, Aunt Carol just walked in, and so she'll know that this is true. Grandma always around Easter would complain of bad shoulders, and now I know why, because when you need the dough for Tayarel, it hurts, because that dough is very stiff.
It is.
So yeah, I always often think of her when I'm cooking.
All the time, yeah, I bet.
Caroline, do you know? I don't know. I mean, she made up a lot.
Recipes, honestly, they were just like memories. So you really make food from just watching people. There was no written.
But where did she learn to cook? Because she always said she didn't cook growing up. She ran a store. So the recipes, did she make them up over time, or did she get them from?
Just watching, but whoever cooked for her growing up, I mean, her mother must have cooked for her.
Yeah, I guess.
And a lot of oil and garlic were their southern dishes, and then you always made what was in season, whether it was string beans or spinach or whatever vegetable, you always based your pasta around that vegetable in the spring and summer for sure. And then in the winter, it was more the lasagnas, the roast, the, lamb with the peas and the eggs for Easter.
Yeah, unfortunately, I hate to see them go away, and some I don't do because I don't like them. Like the octopus, I never liked eating that octopus, so I don't make it on Christmas Eve because I'm not going to eat it. Mommy doesn't like it, and you guys have never even tried it. Maybe you'd like it. So that, I have great memory of seeing it, but I don't do that. And zapalas, which I love, I suck at making them. I'm just not good. I tried at least 3 times, and each time they just came out bad. So I stopped, and they take a lot of work, and you have to deep fry them. So you've got to fill a pot about this deep with oil. It uses a lot of oil, and that one's just going away with me. Some of my cousins still make them. My parents married inside the Italian heritage, but my mother's brother married a German, her sister married somebody from Hungary, so they weren't uptight about, oh my God, we have to keep the blood pure. But on the other hand, it was very, very important to who we were. Like I said, every single day of your life, there was something there that reminded you that you were an Italian American.
Tu fai l'americano, americano, americano, sienta me chi lo fa fa. Tu vuoi vivere alla moda, ma se bevi whisky e soda, poi ti senti disturbare. Tu avalloro che